Have you ever stopped to think that maybe what's holding you back isn't the fear of failing, but the fear of truly being seen? Yes, maybe what scares you the most isn't failure. It's someone seeing who you really are and not accepting you. And what if I told you that this fear that consumes you from the inside and controls your decisions isn't naturally yours? It was installed, programmed, reinforced every single day by looks that weren't even looking at you. We grow up believing we need other people's approval to exist, but the truth is harsh and liberating. No one is watching you as closely as you think, and that changes everything. Because if no one is really judging you, then you're free. And that's what I want to show you now. In less than a minute, I'm going to prove that the fear you feel can be erased, not with magic, but with clarity. Because clarity creates courage, and courage changes destinies. So just give me 10 minutes of your attention, and I promise you one thing. After this, you'll never see judgment the same way again. Some people spend their whole lives trying to fit into other people's molds, as if that would guarantee inner peace. But let's be honest, living in fear of judgment is like driving a car while staring only at the rearview mirror. You may be moving, but you're going nowhere. The problem is, this fear of rejection doesn't come from the outside, it grows from within. It feeds on everything you think others might say. And the more you feed it, the more it takes control of your story. Think about how many talents are hiding inside you just because you're afraid of being criticized. How many ideas shelved, how many projects never started, just because someone might disapprove. It's like holding a gift in your hands and never giving it to anyone. And the worst part, some people don't even know what they want anymore because they've spent so long trying to please others, they forgot how to listen to their own voice. It's not the judgment that paralyzes you. It's the fear of being seen for who you really are and maybe not being accepted. But what if I told you that this prison is invisible and the key is already in your pocket? Because the real breakthrough happens when you realize you don't need anyone's permission to begin. Imagine if Anita had waited for everyone to support funk before getting on stage. Or if Whindersson had only made videos after taking a public speaking course. The secret isn't in pleasing the world. It's in learning how to live even while being watched. And that's when the first major mindset shift begins. We grow up thinking the whole world is watching our every move. But reality is way funnier than that. Everyone's too busy trying not to trip over their own shoelaces. It's the same old story. You walk into a room thinking everyone noticed your clothes, but no one even saw you come in. People are drowning in bills, personal crises, and their own fears. And guess what? Your fear of judgment doesn't even make their top 10 concerns. Look around. Notice how everyone's living inside their own bubble. That person you think is judging you is probably wondering how to pay their credit card bill or what message they forgot to reply to. It's cruel how we convince ourselves every glance is a criticism. This all stems from a mindset addicted to self-doubt. And the worst part, the more you shrink, the more you feel like you're being watched, when in truth, it's you watching yourself through everyone else's eyes. Once you realize this, something inside you starts to shift. It's like a weight slipping off your back, because if no one's watching you like you thought, then why keep hiding? From this point on, the game starts to change, but before it does, there's one more enemy we need to face, the voice that lives inside your own head. It's strange how our minds love to create ghosts with our own face. That voice that tells you you're not good enough, that makes you hesitate before posting a photo or speaking your truth. Most of the time, it doesn't come from others. It comes from within. It's the echo of your insecurities disguised as realism. And the trickiest part? That voice doesn't scream. It whispers, paralyzing you with logical arguments like, better not speak up now, or you're going to embarrass yourself. But here's the truth. That fear of rejection is a character you created and trained to perform flawlessly. It feeds off distorted memories, old criticisms, and unfair comparisons you internalized. And the more you feed this character, the more it becomes the director of your stage. It rehearses your lines, sets your limits, and convinces you it's protecting you. But in reality, all it's doing is keeping you from living fully. It's like having a bodyguard in your mind who only knows how to protect you from success. And the curious thing? Once you start questioning that voice, it begins to weaken. When you say out loud, "This is just my fear, not a truth," the spell begins to break. Because once you recognize the enemy, it becomes easier to neutralize it. And when that internal noise starts to fade, you begin to see something that once seemed impossible. There's a kind of freedom that can't be measured by money. The kind that comes when you realize no one is holding you back, except you. It's like taking off your headphones after a long time and realizing the world was a lot quieter than the noise inside your head. When the fear of judgment begins to lose its grip, a new space opens. A space where you can experiment, fail, learn, and finally grow. That's when life starts to shift. That old idea of starting a business, that desire to sing, to write, to create a channel, everything you shelved because you thought you weren't good enough comes rushing back. Only now, unlike before, you're no longer tied to what others think. You begin to take action. And in the process, you discover there's no right way to be you. There's only the path of allowing yourself to be whole. And when you allow yourself to be whole, the universe starts to respond. Opportunities that didn't even exist before begin to appear. Real connections happen, and you stop living defensively and start building a life with meaning. But even in this new chapter, there's something that still traps a lot of people, like an emotional addiction, the belief that living fully is still too risky. Some people wake up, go to work, eat, sleep, and repeat that for years like a script, not because they lack dreams, but because they have too much fear. Fear of failure, of displeasing others, of looking ridiculous. And without even noticing, life becomes a survival process dressed up as routine. It's like living on autopilot with the handbrake pulled. Everyone's online, but almost no one is truly present, with the courage to feel, to act, to commit to a life that actually matters. That pattern became common. People with degrees, plans, and even talent, but completely paralyzed. The Freedom Generation became hostage to its own inner judgment. They traded the risk of self-expression for the illusion of acceptance. But those who try to remain neutral to avoid rejection end up becoming invisible. And the pain of not being fully seen builds up until it turns into anxiety, frustration, burnout. No one says it, but everyone's tired of living in draft mode. The saddest part, many don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're being cautious when in reality, they're just self-sabotaging. And it doesn't take much to flip the script. Sometimes it starts with a timid yes, with one different choice on a Monday, with a courageous no you never dared to say. Because once you learn to move despite fear, you start realizing that living fully is less dangerous than it seems. Have you noticed how the people who criticize the most are often the ones who feel the most trapped? That's because the judgment we think is coming from others usually reflects what they feel about themselves. People who constantly point out flaws are actually hiding their own insecurities. And here's the key. When you move, express yourself. Put yourself out there. You're not provoking them. You're just revealing where they're too afraid to go. That's why so many people get uncomfortable with those who try. The simple fact that you're trying is a mirror to someone who remains paralyzed. And you know what the trick is? Keep going anyway. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Dance, even if people stare. Create, even if it feels silly. Because while others are judging themselves in silence, you're out there making history. You're moving forward. And those who move, live. Those who only watch, survive. The beauty of it all is that you don't have to be perfect to allow yourself to begin. You just have to remember that no one came into this world to entertain an audience. And when you act, even knowing you might be seen, something inside you starts to heal. Because if you don't act now, fear will keep making the rules. And there's something that happens every time you stop explaining yourself. There's a peace that doesn't come from external silence, but from the noise that finally stops inside your mind. It's that moment when you pause, take a deep breath, and realize, I don't owe anyone anything anymore. And that, my friend, is freedom. It's not about becoming arrogant, it's about becoming whole. When the fear of judgment loses its throne, your true essence begins to reign. You act with ease, you speak with certainty. You live with intention, not to please, but to be real. And that's when everything changes. You start choosing what you want to wear. not what others expect you to wear. You begin saying no with courage, without 1,000 explanations. You decide to stop following standards that only kept your self-worth in captivity, and every little action becomes a quiet victory only you can understand. Because no one sees how big of a step it is to speak up in a group, to share an honest opinion, to show vulnerability without fear of seeming weak. It's in that very moment, when other people's opinions become just background noise, that you feel like you've won. Not over the world, but over yourself. You beat the shame, the insecurity, the thoughts that used to sabotage you day and night. And maybe this is just the beginning. Because if you were able to overcome this fear, what else might you conquer once you stop asking for permission to live?